On July 17, 1883, at 2:30 in the early morning, the person who watches over the cemetery in Besiers got woken up. He lived in a small house near the field where people were buried. His dog, which was in the kitchen, started barking loudly. He quickly went downstairs and saw his dog sniffing at the door and barking a lot, like someone sneaky might be near. The watcher, Vincent, grabbed his gun and went outside. His dog went ahead of him and ran towards a street called Avenue General Bonnet. It stopped at a statue of Madame Tomoizo. Vincent went carefully, and soon he saw a dim light on Avenue Molenvers. He sneaked through the graves and found something really awful happening. A man had dug up the box where a young woman who had been buried the evening before was placed. He was pulling the body out of it. There was a small dark lamp on a pile of dirt, shining light on this really terrible sight. Vincent jumped onto the bad guy, knocked him down, tied his hands, and took him to the police station. The person was a young, rich, and well-liked lawyer from the town, named Joe. He was brought to court. The lawyer who speaks for the public started the case by talking about the really bad things that Sergeant Bertrand had done. People in the room got really angry about it. When the judge stopped talking, the group of people there shouted, "Death! Death!" It was hard for the main judge to make them be quiet. Then he said seriously, "Person on trial, what do you want to say to defend yourself?" Joe, who had said no to having someone else talk for him, stood up. He was a good-looking guy, tall, brown-haired, with an honest face, strong way of moving, and a brave look. He didn't care about the bad noises in the room. He started talking in a quiet voice at first, but it got stronger as he talked. "Mr. President, people on the jury, I don't have much to say. The woman whose grave I opened was my girlfriend. I loved her. I didn't love her in a way that's only about feeling good physically, and not just with a soft heart and soul, but with a complete, whole love, with a very strong feeling. Listen to me. The first time I saw her, I felt something strange. It wasn't surprise or thinking she was great, and it also wasn't what they call love at first sight. It was a nice feeling, like when you get into a warm bath. Her movements got my attention, her voice made me really happy, and I liked looking at her a lot. It felt like I had seen her before and known her for a long time. She had something in her that felt like me. She felt like an answer to a deep call inside me, a call for hope that never stops throughout our whole life. As I got to know her a bit more, just thinking about seeing her again made me feel really happy but also nervous inside. Holding her hand in mine felt better than anything I had ever thought of. Her smile made me incredibly joyful, like I wanted to run, dance, and even lie down on the ground in happiness. So we became people who love each other very much. Yes, even more than that, she was like my whole life. I didn't want anything else on earth and didn't have any more wishes. I didn't want anything else. One evening, after we had walked a bit along the river and the rain caught us, she got sick from the cold. It turned into a worse sickness the next day, and a week later she died. While she was suffering, I couldn't really understand or think about it because I was too shocked and confused. But after she died, I felt so incredibly sad that I couldn't think anymore. I cried. Throughout all the terrible parts of her burial, my strong and wild sadness felt like I was crazy, like a kind of strong, physical sadness. Then, after she was gone, when she was in the ground, my thoughts started to come back, and I went through a lot of really bad feelings that were so strong that even the love she had given me felt like it was worth feeling those bad things. Then, I couldn't stop thinking, I won't get to see her again. When you keep thinking about this all day, you feel like you might be going crazy. Imagine this. There's a woman you really, really like, a special woman, because there's no one else in the whole universe like her. She chose to be with you, and you both made that special thing called love. Her eyes seem bigger than the sky, and nicer than the whole world. Her eyes are happy and loving when she looks at you. And then all of a sudden, she's not there anymore. Think about it. She's gone, not just from you, but forever. She's dead. Do you get what that means? Never, ever, ever, in any place, will she be alive again. Her eyes won't look at anything anymore. Her voice, and no other voice like it, will never say anything in the same way she did. Never again will a face be born like hers. Never, ever. They can make statues using molds. They can make things that look the same using shapes and forms. But that one body and that one face won't ever be born again on earth. And even though lots and lots of people will be born, and even more, this one woman won't come back among all the women in the future. Can you believe it? Thinking about it makes you go crazy. She was alive for only 20 years, not more, and she's gone forever, forever, forever. She used to think, smile, and love me. And now, there's nothing. Even the flies that die in the fall are just as important as we are in this world. And now, there's nothing. I thought about her body, her warm and sweet body, so nice and white and pretty, just rotting in that box under the ground. And what about her thoughts, her love, where did they go? Not being able to see her again. The idea of her body breaking down, which I might still recognize, scared me. I wanted to look at her one more time. I went out with a shovel, a light, and a hammer. I jumped over the wall of the cemetery and found her grave, which wasn't completely closed yet. I uncovered the box and lifted a board. A really bad smell, the stink of decay, hit my nose. Oh, her bed that smelled like orris. But still, I opened the box and held my lit light down inside. I saw her. Her face was blue, swollen, and really scary. Black stuff had come out of her mouth. It was her. That was her. I got so scared. But I reached out my hand to move this really scary face towards me. And then I got caught. All night, I kept smelling the bad stench of this decaying body, the smell of my dearly loved, just like how one remembers the scent of a woman after a hug. Do whatever you want with me. A strange quietness seemed to fill the room. It was as if they were waiting for something more. The jury went to discuss things. When they returned a few minutes later, the person on trial didn't seem scared and didn't even seem to be thinking. The leader of the court said, in the usual way, that the judges decided he wasn't guilty. He didn't move, and the room clapped their hands.